Good evening. Welcome to the Village Board of Trustees meeting for Pleasantville. Today is Monday, June 28. So if you're watching live on Monday, June 28, we encourage you to call in if you have questions or comments. The call-in number is 769-1677. You can also, as you know, watch live on Cablevision or through web streaming at pctv76.com. We had a number, org. Com and org, am I right, Shane?
Yes.
pctv76.com and .org.
Correct.
Take your choice. There are a number of general announcements to make, and then a couple of comments I wanted to make about some things that have gone on in the village in the last couple of weeks. The first thing to mention is that the Village of Pleasantville has been the recipient of the AAA Community Traffic Safety Award, and we've received the Gold Award announcement that recently came to us, so that's good news. A happy report that we've had another safe year in terms of our traffic safety in the Village of Pleasantville. You may notice activity in the dark of night with our DPW guys, our water crew. We're in the midst of an annual hydrant flushing project. That hydrant flushing is necessary to clean out the fire hydrants, to make certain that they're working properly, and also to clean out any debris that may settle in the fire hydrants. So that work is going on sometimes late at night, we have shifts coming in at midnight and working till 6 a.m. The reason for that is that there is a drop in water pressure sometimes in the neighborhoods where this work is going on, and it's less likely to affect anybody when we are doing it off hours. So don't be surprised if you hear somebody tinkering with a fire hydrant outside your house. If you're interested in the dates and times when your street is expected to be done, you can look on the bulletin board here in Village Hall. And Patty, can we get that posted as a PDF maybe on the website?
Oh, it is already.
Is it already?
Yes, it's
okay.
been on the website.
Pleasantville-ny.gov, you can take a look and find out when your street is expected to have its hydrants flushed. For most residents, it'll have no impact and you'll never know what went on, but some people are interested in knowing. And there are a few residents who have a hydrant in a funny place who like to be aware of it because sometimes the water can come across a lawn or whatever and are wanting to know about it in advance. So hydrant flushing is ongoing. The Pleasantville Music Festival is looking like a great time this year. We have 3 headline bands: Jacob Dylan, who is a star in his own right and the son of Bob Dylan. The Bacon Brothers with Kevin Bacon and his brother are coming, as is a band called Rusted Root, which is famous for a bunch of things, including the song that was the theme song for the movie Ice Age. There are about 6 or 8 other bands on the main stage and another 8 or so on the village stage. So Saturday, July 10 is a day not to go anywhere except to Parkway Field to the Pleasantville Music Festival. There are a bunch of ways to get tickets. You can go to pleasantvillemusicfestival.com and click through and not only see the lineup but also buy tickets online. You can buy tickets at a variety of different stores, including the bookstore and Dragonfly downtown. I know that Marmalade in Chappaqua is selling them. There may be a couple of other. Annette, do you recall, are there other locations?
I think that's pretty much it, but I also sell them too. If anybody wants to come into Village Hall, you're welcome to do so, and I can sell you the tickets.
Okay. For Pleasantville residents, there's an incentive to do that quickly because there's a discount of $10 for the regular price is $40, and you can buy a ticket for $30
Right.
up until
July 1st.
July 1st. So act quickly, Pleasantville residents, to take advantage of that benefit because as of July 1st, the discount period expires, but it even at $40 is a great event and a great value. So we look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday, July 10. It's worthy of note that the recycling center, which operates at our DPW garage normally on Saturdays, is not going to be open that day, Saturday, July 10, because of the activity and the buses and parking that will be going on down there. The last thing I wanted to comment on is many of you may have read in the Examiner a couple of weeks ago a front page article about Sergeant Robert Goki, who's a member of the Pleasantville Police Department and is fighting a very serious disease. And I think that the 5 of us on the board have spent a decent amount of time in the week and a half that has followed the publication of that article, explaining to the extent that we are able what really went on there. If my opinion is that article misrepresented the reality of what was going on, and it certainly left the reader, it certainly left me as a reader with the impression that the village board had been working as hard as it could to limit the ways in which we might help Bobby Goki. To the contrary, the village, I think, has sought every reasonable and every legal way it has to help Bobby Goki, but the reality is we don't control the pension system, and we obviously are not in a position to create a circumstance where we would have violated the rules of the pension system, violated the PBA contract, and violated our responsibility to the taxpayer. So what I can tell you is that there is some very happy news on this front, which is that Bob Goki's service as a court officer has now been officially recognized by the New York State pension system as contributing to his police pension, and that resolves the problem he confronted for a period of time of being a couple of months short of 10 years that would have vested him and made him available to access a disability pension. So it is very good news that that has happened, and thanks to Patty Dwyer and the rest of the village staff who have worked hard through a morass of bureaucracy to make that happen. And that is simply emblematic of the effort that this village has made to help Bobby in any way we can. Recognize that if we provide an additional benefit to any given employee, that has the potential to become a precedent and requires us, as a matter of legality and as a matter of fairness, to provide similar benefits to other employees. So we've worked pretty hard to try to do everything we can for an employee who has a serious need and a serious problem, and who has done very good work for us and is a valued person, and we very much hope he is successful in battling this disease, and we want to do everything we can to help. In that vein, the PBA organized a benefit event for him a week ago on a Friday night at the firehouse. It was incredibly well attended, and Pleasantville did what Pleasantville has very often done, and that is it showed up in force when somebody needs help. And I want, on behalf of all of us, and certainly on Bobby's behalf, to thank everybody who participated in that, and to thank the fellow officers who assisted in organizing it. But the bottom line is everybody needs to understand that, as far as I'm concerned, speaking personally, and I think I can speak for my colleagues, the Examiner News article misrepresented what was going on and did, I think, a rather serious disservice to a group of 5 people who have nothing but the highest motives in our treatment of our employees and our fairness to them as well as to the taxpayer. So that's my comment on that subject. I look forward to the Examiner doing a better job in the future on matters of that sort. Anybody want to add to that?
I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to.
All right. We have a couple of things going on here, including a public hearing to consider retirement incentive program that New York State has made available, but a number of you are here on the subject of the Church Street Path. As I think many of you now know, we're not actually going to vote on that matter tonight, and the reason we're not is that Steve Lopez was unexpectedly unable to come to the meeting, and so we only have 4 members here, and think it is a matter that requires all 5 of us to be present to vote. So what I thought I would do is describe the circumstances as they stand now, and then if there are questions that anyone in the community has, they can kick them back to us or to Village Hall over the course of the next couple of weeks. Our intention is to put this matter on the agenda at our next regular meeting, which is Monday, July 12 at 8 p.m., at which point we would vote, and are believing that all 5 of us are able to be present that night. So what's under discussion at the moment is the establishment of a path, not a regular sidewalk. It would be a path that would be composed either of compacted stone dust or possibly compacted road millings, which is the asphalt material we mill off a road when it's ready to be repaved. And the intention is to create a stabilized but naturalistic surface that would allow people to walk or push a stroller along Church Street and make their way down Church Street on a stabilized path. This has been the subject of a lot of discussion over a long period of time, and clearly is at the point where it needs to have a resolution. I do think that the last time we met with the entire neighborhood and came to the notion of a path that would be a natural material and would not require winter shoveling, everybody to a greater or lesser extent recognized it as a compromise that reflected some aspect of everybody's concerns. So there are a number of questions that my colleagues have raised that we'll kick around over the next week or so, including trying to gain certainty that whatever this compacted material is would not end up running off on slopes and creating a problem of erosion over time, and we will make certain that we can clarify that before we actually vote. But what's under discussion at the moment is the notion of building such a path on the Robbins Road side of Church Street, from Robbins Road down Church Street to roughly the crest of the hill. That's roughly approximately across the street from where the current electronic speed limit sign is that shows you what speed you're traveling. So the path would go on the south side of Church Street from Robbins down to the point of the crest of the hill. And then it would pick up on the north side of the Church Street. Now we're on the Green Meadow side of Church Street, from that same point across the street down to Green Meadow. The notion being that that seems to be the point that everybody is mostly in agreement as being the safest point to cross Church Street. The question of striping a crosswalk there is a matter of discussion. And we'll be exploring that again over the course of the next week, but that's the idea. A compacted stone or asphalt milling path that would go from Robbins to the crest of the hill on the south side, and then from the crest of the hill to Green Meadow on the north side. We have a memo from Steve Johnson, our Department of Public Works superintendent, who indicates that the cost of that, see where I have buried that piece of paper here.
The cost of it on the other side.
The cost of a path, at this point we were talking about a path of similar length but all on the other side. Edging for the path is about $3,000 based on $155 per 100-foot roll, and stone dust cost is about $5,000. As an option, we can use road millings that we already have for this path at no cost. So the total cost for the edging is about $3,000. The total cost for stone dust is about $5,000. We will confirm with Steve that the notion of splitting the distance across the north and the south side won't affect that price, but in the end, the total cost if we purchase stone dust is about $8,000, and if we're successful in using what we already have is about $3,000. And then lastly, I add to that we've been informed by neighbors that there is a private contribution of $2,000 that would be offered by the neighborhood to assist in paying for this project. So that's where we stand. The intention of the resolution we will not be voting on tonight was to authorize an expense of up to $8,000, offset by a contribution of $2,000 for a net of $6,000. But we have a few outstanding questions that we now have an opportunity to explore a little further, and we'll do so over the next week and a half with the intention of voting on this matter when we gather at our meeting on July 12th. So that's where we stand. I encourage any of you who have issues or concerns to approach any of us or to let us know through Village Hall. Patty Dwyer can be the point person on that. If anything we've said is a source of concern, or if you have anything you think to add to the picture, you're welcome to do so. And if anybody wants to say anything now, they're welcome to do so. I don't want to turn it into a full-scale public hearing since I think we've spent an awful lot of time on it as is, but I'd be more than happy for anybody who had a couple of comments to make some now if they had something to say. Anybody here have anything to add to the mix?
Well, just two things. We were looking, two unanswered questions, which I thought was what we were waiting in part, was better visibility on the increased litigation to the village by putting the path in, and to the adjacent homeowners whose the path will go through their yards, because there will be, I don't know how to quantify it, but I would suspect there's going to be more litigation or litigation risk than not if there wasn't a path. But I'd like to get some. I thought we were looking to the legal team to give us some sort of idea on that. And secondly, Green Meadow is a private road, and I thought that we needed to get some sign off from Green Meadow to allow this to happen before we. I mean, de facto, I know they're going in there anyways, and that's fine. Just some indication from Green Meadow, I thought, was one of our checklist items for the completion of this path.
I agree. Both of those things are on the list. Just to be clear, the location of the path is all on public right-of-way. We've had a survey of Church Street and have confirmed that all the land in question is Village of Pleasantville land. So, all right.
One item.
You can come up here because the TV audience can't hear that. Yeah. We're open for whatever comes.
I want to give you some more exercise.
Hi, my name is Rick Scott. I live in One Green Meadow. I noticed that some of the young mothers with their kids, when they're walking on that path in Church Street.
Yes.
There's two posts sticking out of there. I think the telephone company put them in 15 years ago. they were going to use it.
Just posts, not full-scale telephone poles?
No, they're-
Yeah, okay.
but it's very hard for a mother and a baby carriage and kids, because it kind of narrows their walkway there. And they've been there for, well, I don't know, 15 years. They were going to run a substation someplace.
Mhm.
Where are those?
They're right on Church Street, at,
By the Green Meadow?
on the Green Meadow path. Yeah,
Down near Green Meadow, or, because I was on it all day.
they're
and I
about
didn't see-
halfway up from Green Meadow to. There's a telephone pole there,
There's certainly a pole there, right?
and then there's these two pipes,
Okay.
PVC pipes.
I remember them.
Okay.
All right, we will
But
look
the
at
mothers seem to have a problem, you know, if they got a couple of
Sure.
kids
Okay.
in the carriage.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you could put it on, look at it.
All right, so we'll reconvene on July 12 and be happy to receive comments in the meantime. Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to open the public hearing on the local law to adopt retirement incentive program Part A and local law to adopt retirement incentive program Part B?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Patty, can you describe these retirement incentive programs?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. Back in early June 2010, the governor announced that the state legislature did enact 2 retirement incentive programs that would be available for localities in the state of New York to adopt by local law. They basically call these plans Part A and Part B, and I'll go over what the state has issued in summary as highlights of these 2 incentive plans, and then answer any questions the board or the public may have about them. Part A would provide for eligible employees 1 month of additional service credit for each year up to 36 years of employment, for a total of 3 additional years of service credit. Eligible employees need to be currently eligible to retire in order to take advantage of this incentive. So they must be at least 50 years of age with at least 10 years of service credit. The option is not available to elected officials or members of the police or fire retirement system. To participate, employers must adopt a local law by August 31st of 2010. The chief executive officer, in this case, which is the mayor, must determine which positions would be eligible for the incentive. The participating employers are required to provide an opt-in window of 30 days with a maximum of 90 days for employees to participate in the incentive. We have selected I think August 1st through December 1st for this particular option, if the board were to enact this local law, as being the window in which eligible employees would have to retire. Participating employers are not required to eliminate positions under this particular incentive, provided that they can demonstrate over a 2-year period savings of at least 1/2 of the base salary of those employees who receive the incentive. Those savings do not have to be in salary exclusively. They have to be savings that are demonstrated. They could be, for example, perhaps healthcare contributions, less accruals for new hires, and elimination of paid accruals, and perhaps less paid vacation time. There are ways to demonstrate that, but it does need to be demonstrated that there is, over a 2-year period, a savings of at least 1/2 of the salary of those employees who receive the incentive. The actuary of the retirement system estimates that the per member cost at retirement for employees receiving additional service credit will average approximately 60% of their final average salary. That final average salary is determined by another formula the retirement system uses. It's typically 3 years, the last 3 years of employment. Those salaries are considered to constitute the final average salary. And participating employers would be required to pay the pension-related benefit costs to the system over a period not to exceed 5 years. The second incentive that's offered is a 55-25 plan Basically, it's open to employees who obtain the age 55 and have at least 25 years of service. This incentive would allow them to retire without any reduction in pension benefits. Currently, the minimum age to retire is 62. So those are the incentives, at least in terms of the outline of the incentives that we've proposed to discuss tonight. We did previously provide the village board with a list of employees that we thought that were eligible, at least on paper, to retire. Of those employees, 3 have indicated an interest in pursuing retirement, or at least exploring the opportunity to retire if the legislation is enacted. We also have estimated costs of what the incentive would be to the village should those employees retire under the incentive plan. There are 2 options for the village to pay. One is lump sum, and the other is over a 5-year amortization period, which includes an interest payment.
And who makes that decision?
The village board would make that decision ultimately when you knew how many people, would opt in, and if this is your actual cost.
Hey, Patty,
Yes,
help me understand something here.
sure. I
What
hope I
is-
can.
What is an additional service credit worth to an employee who is already retirement eligible? So they can retire tomorrow if they wanted to.
On their pension, probably
On their pension.
1.5% or 2% maximum.
Per service credit?
Yeah.
Of their,
It probably escalates a
Salary.
pension about 6% a month. That's probably...
6% a month?
If you received an additional 3 years of service credit?
Yeah,
No.
it's about a 6% increase in pension, in annual pension.
For, if you were credited with 3 additional years as a result of
yes.
this
An
benefit.
annual pension,
Yes.
okay. So, okay, that's what I was looking for, the magnitude of what this potentially really is.
So
That's
if I
top of my
if
head,
I
but
understand this
that's-
worksheet correctly, the employer is required to continue to pay into the pension fund as if that employee remained on payroll.
That's a good question.
Yes, but what's interesting is that they've locked in the rate that you'd continue to pay as if they were on payroll, which may actually be less than what they're going to make us pay
Make us pay 5 years from now.
because they're in such a state of flux.
I thought
But
it was
to your
over
point, yes.
5, you get your 3 years, if say they're eligible for
Mm-hmm.
for 3 years, that you can pay that out over 5 years.
Yes, you can. You can pay the additional pension costs over 5 years.
So
That's right.
So their worksheet is a little confusing to me because they're use a multiplier of 5 to get your annual cost, whereas that's doesn't determine. That's an annual cost times 5.
That's
So
right.
you're actually paying for 5 years, not the additional 3 years.
I
That's
think-
what
I
it
think-
seems
I
like.
understand
But the point
what
is,
you're-
what you're required to pay, I think, and it's no surprise that a New York State pension program would be opaque,
It's an amortization.
is that you're required to pay the actual resulting pension benefit cost.
That's right.
And so the benefit cost over 3 years is everything the employee receives as pension. They've turned that into some actuarial calculation that says, for a Tier 1 employee, if you pay 17% of their salary every year for 5 years, you will have paid enough to cover it. That's the way I'm reading it.
They assume that, yes. That's, well,
So
that's assuming that.
it's coincidental, I think, that the payment rates are rather similar to the annual pension contribution of an active employee. I think those numbers came out of a calculation that was based on the total amount to be paid to these employees in the first 3 years of their retirement.
But you're
That's-
still only supposed to pay 3 years.
But you're paying 3 years that they have allowed you to amortize
No,
over 5.
it's nothing to do with pay. They're getting 3 years service credit for which you will be paying the system 5 years worth of.
Well, you're not
But
you're not paying
supposed
5.
to.
You're paying
You're
3
supposed
years
to
of
pay
credit
3 years of credit,
that has been amortized across 5
5
years.
years. But that's
Well,
not what
that's-
it does, though. If
Well,
you're
I
using a
don't know.
multiplier of 5 for an annual benefit cost, then that to me sounds like you're paying for 5 years of benefits.
Well, it's because this 17% of payroll for a Tier 1
doesn't
employee,
fluctuate.
and it is I believe the the number that's derived backwards by saying, how much are we paying this employee in pension in the first 3 years? Divide that across 5 years and let the employer pay
Okay.
it on some.
All right, I got you.
So, I mean, among other things, as mentioned up front, we're not going to vote on this tonight because we need to be pushing
We don't get
more
it.
numbers around.
Pat, back to my question. So if I'm retiring, I'm $100,000, I'm earning $100,000. I'm retirement eligible, so I could retire if I wanted to today,
Okay.
full retirement. What do I get, 60% of my
Right.
salary?
The actuary of the retirement system
Of your
estimates
final
that
average
the
salary.
per member cost at retirement for employees receiving this will average approximately 60% of the employee's final average salary.
No, but even if he wasn't doing
So I'm
option
getting
A,
$60,000.
Say your last 3 years were 100,000 a year?
Right, so
Yes.
I'd get about $60,000. This added benefit,
$6,000 as a pension, an
As a
ongoing
pensioner,
pension?
yes.
As your ongoing pension.
Okay.
and then this extra benefit gives me
1 month for every year.
6% additional income off what? Is it 63? Is it $62,500
If
now?
you're, yes, because you're saying you're eligible, so you are leaving, let's say, without an incentive, as a $100,000 a year final average employee.
Mhm.
Right,
You're age 62 and you have 20 years.
right.
The village offers this incentive. You're still age 62, but now you have 23 years.
Right.
So the more years you work over the,
No, he doesn't have 23 years.
yes, because he's going to opt,
But
Well,
if I-
yeah,
if I-
it's-
He
right.
only
if I-
gets a
if I-
month for
Yeah,
every
yeah,
I'm
year.
making
it gets-
100,000
right,
To
right.
finish.
But if I'm making $100,000
You're
a
right.
year for
No,
the
I
next 3
understand
years,
what you're
I'm still getting
No,
$60,000.
you're only getting
Yeah.
a month for every year, so you're getting 20 months.
right, you get 20 more months.
Which is less than 2 years.
Right, so now you're going to be,
No, no,
Now you're gonna be 20.
21 point something
Right,
years.
Right.
And you
Okay.
get additional credit for those
I
additional.
understand, but if I'm 60, if I fast forward, now I'm 65, because
Right.
I've got those 3 years or whatever it is,
Well, it
Without
doesn't
the-
and
give
I'm
you-
still making
yeah.
$100,000 a year, I retire, I still get $60,000.
Yes.
So they're giving you an extra $2,000 or whatever the percentage is
Yes.
to retire.
I can, you know what I'll do, I'll give
Wait,
you all the
just
link
the
to the
one payment?
website where you can
Yeah.
plug in.
Well, we have that link here.
I
so-
think it's,
Yeah.
I think it's your.
It'll show you
your-
where,
Your
Your
ongoing,
annual-
your
yeah.
so your ongoing pension is increased by
by
a
that.
couple of thousand.
That's right.
Right.
Because
And
your service
meanwhile-
credit is, your time
Meanwhile,
is.
we have to, because the whole reason to do this, if we want to sum it up, the reason we would do this is to get rid of, or to encourage people who have a very high salary to retire and do that fairly, and then we hire somebody at a lower salary and thus save money. But that presumes that we can find somebody like that.
No, but if you don't designate, say you designate only tier 3 and tier 4 employees, they're the only ones that would be
Yeah,
eligible
but what
for
if we
this.
find that in a job search for the person who we're replacing, we can't find them in a tier 3 or
Well-
tier 4?
But no, but the thing is that the tier 1 person would not be designated, so they wouldn't be eligible for this program. They could do Plan
Right.
B, which they're gonna be still making their pension, not plus the 1 month for every year of service. So, because for Plan B, you have to be 55-25. So usually a tier 1 person has been here for a long time. They're usually an older person, over 55. So they'd be eligible for Plan B. If you don't designate them under Plan A, they're not eligible for this. So it wouldn't make sense for a lot of tier 1 and tier 2 employees to be designated under Plan A. It just wouldn't work out for most municipalities for that to happen, because they're usually the higher salaries, and you really can't prove a savings, because those are the people you're gonna have to replace.
Well,
So in most cases, you're gonna have to replace a tier 1 person.
in a larger organization, it's harder than in a smaller one. It's pretty obvious to see
Well, I think
savings
it's
in a
even,
smaller
I think
community.
it's easier for tier 3 and tier 4 across the board.
Depends
But
on
tier
the
one in a
position.
small organization, that tier one person has a lot of responsibility, and you have to replace them. There's not a lot of deputies under there.
No, we have tier ones who are in every,
I mean, tier one is
every
just
department. It's just
a
the
matter
fact
of
that
when you
they're,
get into the system, not a matter of,
yes, it's not a position, it's just the fact that they're hired before 1974.
Right, so they usually have the age behind them to retire on their own.
Right.
Without an incentive.
That's-
This is really an incentive.
That's fair to say, yes.
Yes,
All right.
and in this, in the Part A, you only have to have 10 years of
You have to be 50 years old and
but
have
you
10
have
years.
to have 50 years old, but you can
Right.
only have 10 years of service.
Right. Well,
So-
you only need 5 years to retire with a pension anyway.
Right. So,
I mean,
but I'm
that's-
saying to be designated.
Right,
If
you have to
if
be
a
age
municipality
eligible.
was going to designate you, this is the guideline there.
all right, well, suffice it to say that we are continuing to explore this, and I think the takeaway from it, from the standpoint of the public, is that we're giving some very serious thought to the question of how our departments are organized and how our, excuse me, how our departments are
Very
organized
confusing.
and how we envision the staff might be arranged in years future. And if this, in the end, represents an opportunity for us, we certainly don't want to miss it. So we'll be looking at that with some care, specifically with the question of whether, in the end, an incentive of this kind might open up some opportunities for us in the future to operate in a more efficient and hopefully less expensive way. So stay tuned on that front. I'm going to suggest that we adjourn the public hearing and then open it again on July 12th at 8 p.m. for the comment of for any additional comment that might be offered from the public, at which
We
point
did receive comments on
at
this,
which
too.
point I think we will have a pretty solid idea of the potential implications and the logic or lack thereof of our adopting it.
Okay,
So-
so moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, any further new business, don't hesitate to call at 769-1677. We will move to,
Okay, I'll get it. Get it. Village board. Okay, hold on one second. We're going to have to unfortunately repeat that, okay? Okay, thank you. Hold on. Okay, we have a caller, Mr. Mayor. Let me...
welcome.
I basically have a two-part question.
Could you let us know who you are and your address?
I'm Dennis Tarrant-Chalk, 373 Washington Avenue.
Thank you.
I noticed on the website last week at your work session, you had some discussion about Washington Avenue development, if I'm correct in reading it. I was just wondering what was that referencing about? And my second part, when the word development comes in, I'm wondering, does the village have any way to protect itself in future development concerning like the eyesore on Washington Avenue by Lucio's? Like when we have development, is there any way to protect? Because like that building there, I don't remember the number across from the firehouse, but it's been there for several years, and I don't see anything ever happening with it. And I don't know what the status of the developer is, bankruptcy, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not a lawyer and I have no idea. But is there any way when we talk about development to learn from that lesson and have some kind of protection for the village and its residents?
Okay, well, so let's take the second part first. I don't know the latest status of that building adjacent to Lucio's, but that was a building that was the subject of a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission, the Architectural Review Board. It was ultimately built without any zoning variances of any kind, but in order to accomplish that, it required a building that has a rather unusual setup and a parking garage inside and a sacrifice of quite a bit of first floor space to allow access to the parking garage. The then owner and developer was not interested in a number of the ideas that were proffered during the planning process and instead was focused on maximizing their potential under the existing code. So that building went forward and, as you have seen, has clearly run out of economic steam. And I don't know the current status of it, but I do think there is the possibility that it has either already or will be changing hands. From the standpoint of how we can protect ourselves from something like that happening, that particular project was one which gave rise to some consideration of aspects of our zoning laws that might need some reconsideration, specifically because nobody quite envisioned that anybody would interpret what existed in the code in the way they did. As far as having certainty that somebody who gets started on a project has the wherewithal to finish it, that is, I think, a very difficult thing to do, and one that probably exceeds our rights as a government. In that particular case, having nothing to do with the merits of the building or its layout, I think it also ran afoul of the declining economy and probably arrived at a point of rentability just at the wrong time. So that's where that stands. The piece that had been listed on the agenda in work session last week is a piece of property on Washington Avenue that's actually between the garden apartment complex that's sort of halfway down Washington on the lower side and the railroad tracks. The village owns a tract of land between the railroad tracks and that brick apartment complex. And there is a proposal that's been made to think about making that site available as a site for affordable housing, a series of townhouse developments, something of that kind. There's been no decision to do that, but we are actively looking at the proposal that came to us. It's a little bit of a difficult site involving a fairly steep slope, and we're not 100% certain that even what has been suggested is achievable or achievable at a reasonable cost. But that was the subject of discussion last week at the work session and will be a subject of discussion ongoing. Certainly before we took any action on selling that property or making that property available to a developer, the neighbors would certainly hear about it in advance and have an opportunity to weigh in on it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. Okay, so we're going to move these first two resolutions regarding the local retirement incentive and then table them. So Mindy, 124.
Resolved that the pre-check register dated
No, 120. Oh, I'm
126, right?
124. We're going to do. We've got to move them and then table them.
Oh, sorry. I'm, all right, so moved.
Is there a second for
Second.
124? Because this resolution and the one that follows it refer to the retirement incentive program we just discussed, is there a motion to table that for consideration in the future?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is tabled.
So then Jonathan should do 126.
Oh, it sure beats 127. Oh, no, it doesn't.
No.
Mindy, you have to do 127.
Do you want me to?
No,
I
I'm
will.
good. Approval of the pre-check register. Resolved that the pre-check register dated June 28th, 2010, covering check numbers 66,752 to 66,783 and the wire numbers 66,750 to 66,751 for fiscal year 2009-2010, last year, and covering check numbers 66,786 through 66,780. These numbers don't seem to. Are these numbers right, Patty? Why are they going backwards?
66,786.
To 66,785?
It's 66,784 through 66,885.
66,885, and wire numbers
That makes
66784 through 66,785 for fiscal year 2010-2011, the current year, have been reviewed and they're hereby approved as per the schedule below, which totals for 2010 across all accounts $226,571.06. And for fiscal year 2010, our brand new year, across all accounts, $176,858.28.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just FYI, our fiscal year ends at the end of May, and our new fiscal year begins June 1, so we are now launched into the new fiscal year, which is why this check register spans 2 fiscal years, referring to when the expenses were incurred. And Patty, we should schedule a brief public presentation as a wrap-up of the previous fiscal year as soon as we have
Oh, good.
finalized those numbers and all
Okay.
the dust has settled. So, any questions or comments on the check registers?
Patty, why did we need a Chinese interpreter? Is that court?
Yeah, what page you want on?
I'm on page
sure it's-
4, 66,806.
Let me see what's charged to.
You should say it.
Pretty sure.
A110, A1110, 477.
Okay, here you are. Yeah, that's court.
Court, and just to know that those wire payments were the MTA tax.
Yes.
Just want to
MTA
mention
tax.
that.
Right.
All right, any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion is approved. Brian?
Resolved that the Board of Trustees has reviewed the minutes of the meeting held on Monday, June 14th, 2010, and they are hereby approved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Question or comments?
No.
I'll abstain, having been absent.
You can,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mindy,
Aren't there
128.
two,
Yeah, sure.
isn't this the second meeting minutes? What am I looking at here? Okay, sorry. I don't have a resolution
There you go.
here. Okay, thank you very much. I think I did there. Oh, wait a minute, it's behind this one. I apologize. No, it's just done differently. I'm a
We got a
little
lot of paper
confused.
here
Judy
today.
goes away and I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, yeah, thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Come
All
on
right.
now.
Oh, this is regarding the public hearing that took place on, when?
No, we're noticing a public hearing.
We're noticing a public hearing. I thought we did this one already, Cooley Street.
We have to do it again.
Why?
What? Patty,
Oh, I'm sorry.
there was
parking on Cooley.
a change in the thinking
No, no,
here.
well, there's some, yes, there's some new things happening here.
The no left turn?
All right, well, why don't you read the
Well,
I'll read
resolution
it,
and then
yeah,
Patty
okay.
can describe it.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville authorizes the village clerk to notice
the
a
right
public
papers.
hearing for Monday, July 12, 2010, Village Hall, 80 Wheeler Avenue, Pleasantville, New York, 8:30 PM prevailing time, to hear comments as it pertains to a local law amending Chapter 173 Vehicles and Traffic Sections 173-54 Prohibited Turns at
I wrote it down, I
Intersections,
can't find it.
Section 173-58 Yield Intersections, and Section 173-57 Stop Intersections as follows. Amending Chapter 173 Vehicles and Traffic, Section 173-54 Prohibited Turns at Intersections at Cooley Street. The direction of travel is south. You're prohibiting a left turn all hours onto Bedford Road. So that's coming from Mediterraneo, and that's the only way you really could exit there anyway. There would be no left turn. In Chapter 173-58, Yield Intersections, and this is on a yield sign on Marble Avenue, direction of travel north on intersection of Bedford Road. So that would be coming from Tudor Time, correct?
This is deleting the previous yield sign that was at Jean-Jacques.
Right.
As you were heading down Marble,
That little triangle.
the county is now requiring that become a full stop.
Isn't that
They've already
south?
done it.
Isn't that south?
They've already done it. They've already eliminated
Right,
the
so
left
that's
as
like a
well.
stop,
Yes.
the yield sign is now a stop sign. So when you're on the side of Jean-Jacques in front of Brick
Is
Oven,
where Jean-Jacques is on your right?
yeah, Jean-Jacques is on your
And you're
right.
about to turn right.
And you're about to turn
down towards-
onto Marble Avenue.
But isn't that direction of travel?
South.
All right, so.
Yeah,
can we get through
that's
that?
incorrect, I'm sorry,
Let's
yeah.
get that through, we'll have a second and then we'll
Yeah,
describe it.
amending chapter, this is section 173-57, stop intersections. The stop sign on Bedford Road, direction of travel east, at intersection of Marble Road, we're adding,
Marble Avenue.
yeah, it should be Marble Ave, it's, unless, I have no idea where they're talking about here, but we're adding a stop sign, and that's it. Now that I've
Okay.
totally confused everybody,
We'll get.
just
we'll
be really
clear it up.
careful out there, because you're gonna yield when you're supposed to stop, and stop when you're supposed to yield.
Is there a second?
Second. We've just been
Okay.
treated to Mindy's mind.
So
It's actually a lot easier than it
we've
sounds.
noticed a public hearing on this subject for Monday, May 12.
It's
And
also
on-
about
on-
110
could we
degrees in
stop?
here.
On Monday, May
July
12,
July 12th.
on Monday, May 12, we'll have a map available so that
July
people can
12.
see. July 12, sorry. We'll have a map available so people can
think he's-
understand what we're talking about.
he's
But Patty, could you
dehydrated.
just quickly describe what these are?
Yes, it's really only two things taking place here. A prohibition of left turns, as Mindy described, out of Cooley Street when you come to the intersection of Bedford Road, coming from the dead end of Cooley Street, the Mediterraneo side. the county is prohibiting left turns. The other amendment is removing what currently exists on the books as a yield sign in a northerly direction at Bedford and Marble. That's how it reads in the books right now.
Is that really how it
That's
reads?
not
Yeah.
really north.
Because that's
Well,
south.
I get it. You're kind of north, but then you go, it's
Yeah.
really
All right.
crazy. But anyway, we're deleting that. We're adding
Stop sign.
a stop sign, right, on on Bedford Road at that same location as Jean-Jacques. So we're replacing the old yield with a stop. They've already done it, as Jonathan pointed out. The county's changed that. The additional yield sign that's being added is by 7-Eleven, where it says, on Bedford Road, heading north at Pleasantville Road. This has never been in the code. It should have been all along. It's always been a yield at the new traffic light by Luke Oil.
Right, you're talking about if you're passing Heller's on the right,
No, if you're coming down from Pace and you're coming straight down Bedford Road,
right?
And
when you
7-Eleven
just
is
pass
on your right.
7-Eleven, you can
Right.
either go to the traffic light or you can
Right,
yield
right.
to the right.
Uh-huh.
That yield sign needs to be in the code book. We never put it in.
Okay.
So is that going to be a yield?
Yes, it's staying a yield.
As it
And-
always
and-
has
and-
been.
And there's
Yes.
actually, what took me by surprise, if you're passing Heller's on the right on...
Yes, there's a yield there as well.
Well, no, it's a stop sign now. It's, if you're turning right to go towards Pace, you pass Heller's and you kind of take the...
That's section 173-54.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to have to add
Thanks,
that.
Brian.
There's
We
a
have to
stop,
have that.
there's a
You're
stop
right.
sign there now, which I blew through because...
Is that right? Is
who
there really a
expects
stop sign? Because we
sign
didn't
there?
add that.
Well, we will be
We're
adding
gonna
it.
have to add it
I
now.
wish they would have given me
The
the
cat's
sign
out of the bag
package.
now.
Yeah, well, you
All right,
know...
so
So-
Patty, can we just check and see if we need to add that, and that could perhaps be included in this public
Yeah, and to
hearing?
make it just a little more, complicated, the Cooley Street parking scheme that we enacted
Right.
last week needed to be amended again, because on the right side of Cooley Street, the Mediterraneo side, there's too many turning conflicts with the new scheme with cars parked perpendicular on the left and parallel on the right. So we are going to create a loading zone for the first few feet, about 45 feet off the corner on the right side, loading for trucks only during certain hours of the day. And then there'll be no parking in front of Mediterraneo instead of those 4 spaces we thought we could get. And the businesses are fine with it. They actually like the scheme.
Is that, what do you mean trucks only? Could
It'll
it
be a loading zone only
Right,
as
when
you come off the
deliveries
corner.
and...
because we
So
need to
people
have-
could park there sort of for 5 minutes?
No.
I mean,
It's
No, it's
apparently
trucks
dangerous.
only.
You can't
It's going to be
make the
trucks
turn.
only, loading and unloading, a 15-minute zone.
Where's this?
wait a
As you
minute.
come around,
As you're coming around, you're turning off towards
basically
Mediterranean.
next to the vacant lot.
Right, and, right, there were going to be some parallel parking areas right in there, so that's going to be trucks only.
They were going to be up
Yeah,
further.
This is really not-
And otherwise, no stopping anytime?
Right.
I mean, if you want to buy a bottle of wine at Art of Wine across the street.
You have to be at a meter, right.
You can't just
No.
pull in there?
No.
And yet a truck can
No,
be there?
Brian,
Yes.
let's think,
They really need truck
Mr.
parking.
Master of 5-minute parking across the
They
street.
really need
that,
truck parking
you know,
there. They have deliveries all day on both sides of the street, between Foley's and Luke Oil and Art of Wine and
It's not Luke Oil.
Deli. And
What is it?
it's not Luke Oil
American.
anymore? That happened over the weekend while I was not here. Is that right?
They changed it.
Oh, the signs
Big old red
changed?
sign.
They get ARB approval for that?
Anyways,
Yeah, right, right. All right,
that's fine.
fine.
My advice
Fine.
would be to put no parking there, not even loading zone, period, until you see how that traffic pattern works, because that's a real problem, making a right in there the way it is right now, and maybe it all gets solved by this new parking configuration that we're gonna do, but, once I would make that no parking, no loading zone, no nothing for the first couple weeks and just see how it goes, and if the traffic patterns allow making that a loading zone, then redo it, but
Yeah, we have time to look at it. I mean, the chief
Right.
actually recommended this
But
too.
there's
because-
also, even if you make a right out of there,
Mhm.
with that curb bump out,
Mhm.
if you're in a pickup truck, I'm doing this for you, Fogarty, apparently you can't turn in your truck. It's too difficult because the curb is bumped out too much. It's too much of a radius. Is that right? Or is that gonna, did the county
I mean-
see anything as an issue there about a turning radius? All right.
Where would it force the car to go? In the other lane that's
It's
turning
just
left?
that they have to come out, they have to go left to
well,
go
they
right.
can't because there's that median there.
Right.
But
No, but
at
they-
that point, when you're taking the right out of
Is,
Cooley,
Yes.
is Suzette coming back to look at all this?
Suzette, I don't know.
I mean,
if
didn't she
will.
design it?
it's not
She
necessarily
retired?
her, it's the engineering department.
She might have been on, she might have
designed
been in
it.
option A.
She did, yeah, no, she's not
Could have been back here
retired.
before
Well,
August
okay.
31st.
She'll have to get, her
Here's-
engineering.
here's
There's a
another
traffic
problem.
division
If I
that
may-
worked with
if I-
this, as well as Suzette, but she's responsible for the overall design.
If I may identify yet one more problem that at least that I see, if you're in the 7-Eleven parking lot and there's a one-way in according to the site plan, I'm sure.
Yes.
And then there's one way out. It used to be that you couldn't go out. It was really hard to get around that median to either cross the street and go left.
It's a no left turn.
It's a no, it's a,
Okay,
yeah.
it used to be a no left turn because it was really hard to get around that median because it extended further down. Now, of course, it's not, and every other car is
Oh,
turning
that's
left
bad.
out of that driveway. I swear to God.
Well, I think it's a
and so
site
you have
plan,
people in the
but-
yield turn, in the yield lane. You know how you're in the yield lane
Yes,
at
yes,
7-Eleven on
yeah.
the right? And there are people trying to get out. What happens invariably is cars, and you let people out because you think they're
Okay.
going to go up, and instead they cross right in front of you and try to get,
Let me suggest that we
cross the
put this
street.
on work session for next Monday,
No, that's a planning commission site plan
Where we
issue
can-
for 7-Eleven.
where we can, do we have a work session next week?
We were off
All right,
Monday.
all right.
It's
Well,
4th
how
of
about
July
this? So-
We
weekend.
can have
We
it if
will-
you want it. I'll
we
be happy
will-
to come, but
Give
we're
us a
closed.
break.
I was getting worried there that,
We
we had to
will
work
put this on a work
July.
session discussion.
Okay.
So that we understand the ramifications
Yeah,
of it.
and nothing-
and
nothing is
that may
urgent
be an
here,
issue
but-
where
Fair to do it.
the old site plan,
Okay.
the old site plan warrants some reconsideration in the context of the new traffic plan.
Yeah,
or
but
vice
even
versa.
if you
So
put a no
We'll
left
discuss it in a
sign-
work session the next time we get to it. Let's move on. All in favor of
But even
the
if you-
public hearing?
You can tell me later. I'll
Motion
listen,
approved.
Brian.
Number 129.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
Do you expire here? Do you want me to-
I'll do it.
Go ahead.
Annette, we're just rolling. here.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees
I'll do the
approves
next
the
one.
street closing for a block party on Romer Avenue
This
for
should be easy.
Sunday, these are my people,
These are
Sunday,
my
July
people.
4, 2010. I won't be able to make it.
Did they
From-
invite you,
from
Brian? I
two-
bet they didn't.
Can we get through the resolution?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, they did. From 2 PM to 11:50 PM.
All in, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mindy, number 130.
I'll take this. Resolve that the Board of Trustees approves the street closing for a block party on Guyon Street for Sunday, July 18, 2010, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Mindy, number 132.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes DPW to install a path on Church Street. No.
Yes.
Yes. Are we tabling
Oh, we're
this?
tabling it. And also allows the village to accept donations for the Church Street path.
Second. Move to table.
Move to table. Is there a second to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is tabled for further consideration July 12th.
132?
Okay,
Yes.
130, the numbers are,
Yeah. Resolve that the
Not
Board of
considered.
Trustees authorizes the village administrator to sign an annual service agreement with PCTV Inc.
Second.
Patty, section 2, this is a contract that essentially ratifies the services PCTV will provide in exchange for the contribution the village makes. Section 2 fees. PCTV's rate per year is $92,500, as well as the pass-through provided by any television franchise the Village of Pleasantville receives other revenue from.
Yeah, that's our current budget.
Okay, but what is the clause "as well as" doing there? What does that add to the picture? Why isn't that line simply?
That's the PEG payments.
The pass-throughs of PEG, yeah, it refers to the PEG.
Okay, well, it's not just a pass-through, it's the PEG payments, right?
Yes, that are, you know.
It's not, for example, the franchise fees.
No.
Okay, so
I
can
mean,
we
the,
modify
it's-
that to say "as well as"
Yes,
the
that's fine.
PEG?
I don't have
PEG, for those
that.
benefits of listening, is support for public access education and government channels. And then this is essentially a one-year contract for this single fiscal year.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so although I don't think it needs to be changed, it says PCTV's rate per year, it's the rate for this year. It's not a multi-year contract.
Right, because it has to be
Okay.
renewed every year.
All right,
And I can do that. We'll make it clean that it's for this year.
okay. Is the mover accepting those changes?
Who moved it?
John.
I accept it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved.
Okay.
Brian, number
Resolved that the
133.
Board of Trustees hereby acknowledges the following reappointments to the Executive Board of PCTV, Inc. Marion Coughlin, President, term effective June 1, 2010 through May 31, 2012. Alan Sash, Member, term effective June 1, 2010 through May 31st, 2012. And Nell Stokes, Member, term effective June 1, 2010 through May 31, 2010.
Is
Or
there
2012.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, how did you get Marion to go for the president?
Thank you so much,
Thank
Marion,
you,
for
yes.
taking the
Great
helm.
Marion Coughlin.
Good for
We
you.
didn't give her a choice.
And thank you very much, Sarah Hoyt, the outgoing president for
Yes.
Yeoman Service
Great job,
on behalf
Sarah.
of PCTV. And thanks to Alan and Nell for re-upping. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
approved.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the budget amendments for fiscal year 2009-2010. And those budget amendments, not quite, Department of Justice
Go over them.
Technology grants,
Yeah,
$9,688.49. We're removing them from the budget, isn't that?
yeah, and
So that's
carrying
a-
them forward, Mindy.
We're carrying
That's
them
right.
forward.
Carrying them forward, thank you.
Yep, to the next year.
All right, we're also carrying forward $2,142.52 for the Justice Court Assistance Program. And I've never seen it like this. Appropriate general fund balance to cover claims and tax certs, $2,982. And carry forward revenue and expenses for Department of Justice. Same, is this the same thing?
Right.
Yeah.
There were three of them. You already got them.
Okay, I've got them.
Okay,
I got
great.
two.
Is there a second?
Second.
So these are budget cleanups, moving one revenue and expense item that didn't happen in the previous fiscal year to the new
That's what I've
fiscal
got
year.
too.
The same for the Justice Court Assistance Program, and then appropriating some fund balance in the amount of $2,900 for a tax grievance that has been settled. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Jonathan, number 134.
There is no more. I don't have any more.
That's the same.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's a copy of the same.
No, no.
Yes.
Right.
No,
We're
one
all
was
set.
2009, 2010, this is 2010, 2011.
Yeah, make it 135. Thank you.
135.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right. Jonathan,
Okay.
Okay.
why does that have to be done again, Patty? There are two,
They're identical.
You took them out of one year, and now
It's
you're putting
easier
them
for
into the
the
other,
auditor
right?
to trace it as a separate
Okay,
fiscal year.
right.
But it is
Usually
the
it was
same-
just one
it's
resolution
the
that
same
you
resol-
transferred.
It's
Yeah.
doing the same
But
thing.
it's over a year end, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
go ahead,
just
John.
easier to
Those
find.
the
So-
same ones as stated.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the budget amendments for fiscal year 2010 to 2011 to accept the budget amendment that were moved from 2009 to 2010 as stated earlier by
Resolution.
Resolution 134.
Second.
That's fine, thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That ends our regular agenda tonight. Let me remind everybody about the Pleasantville Music Festival, which is Saturday, July 10. You can buy your tickets online at pleasantvillemusicfestival.com. You can buy your tickets between 8 and 4 p.m. at the third floor of Village Hall, or you can wander your way into the Dragonfly, the bookstore, or Marmalade in Chappaqua. We encourage you to come. It's a great lineup with Jacob Dylan, Bacon Brothers, Rusted Root, and something like 15 more bands. We'll have the Captain Lawrence and Prosperos assisting us, as always, with the beer and wine garden, as well as lots of activities for kids, games, face painting, etc. Something for everybody, and lots of Pleasantville and the regional vendors and food vendors in the vendors area. So a great day for all. Please buy your tickets. Saturday, July 10, the Pleasantville Music
Say one
Festival. We
thing.
look forward to seeing you. Wendy, have a thought?
I just want to say happy anniversary to my husband. It's
Oh,
my anniversary.
happy anniversary.
24 years. Happy anniversary.
Oh, T2, Mindy. I have one more thing too,
anniversary.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind. On Saturday, July 10th, just to let residents know, the recycling center will be closed that day because of the music festival and the extraordinary amount of activity going on Village Lane. So I do have that out on the web, but just to make a public announcement that the recycling center is closed on July 10th.
Great.
Thank you.
Reminds me, once again, we periodically remind you that if you're interested in getting emails from the village, both agendas for any boards or committees you're interested in following, or to receive general information emails, you can sign up on our website, pleasantville-ny.gov. On the bottom of almost every page, there's a subscribe button, and you can sign up your email and get information of all kinds. it's a helpful thing to have the general information option chosen, because when something is going on that's of general interest, or if we're in an emergency condition, we have been using that. So we encourage you to do it, pleasantville-ny.gov. That being said, I think, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? It's hot in the room, and you can
It's
tell.
so hot in here.
Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you Monday, July 12th, at our next regular meeting. Have a good night.